a love match that defied convention, and a villain already planning its destruction. Salt air and candle smoke clung to the night as applause faded in a Venetian hall. Othello, dark of skin and heavy with honors, felt the eyes of strangers on him. Beneath the triumph, a thin, corrosive doubt waited, ready to be fed until it devoured everything he loved. The marriage and the villain. Othello was Shakespeare's study of jealousy, what Iago calls, the green-eyed monster which doth mock the meat it feeds on. But it is also a study of how evil works, not through supernatural power but through understanding human weakness and exploiting it. Iago never lies directly to Othello about anything that can be verified, he plants hints, raises questions, and lets Othello's imagination do the work. The tragedy is that Othello is not stupid or even unusually jealous, he is simply an outsider who has never felt entirely secure in his adopted society, and Iago knows exactly where to apply pressure. Othello was a Moor, a black African, who had risen to become Venice's most valued military commander despite the racism that pervaded the society. His life story was extraordinary. Sold into slavery, escaped, fought his way up through merit alone, now trusted with the city's most important military campaigns. Desdemona, daughter of a Venetian senator, heard these stories and fell in love with the man who had lived them. They married secretly because Brabantio, Desdemona's father, would never have consented to his daughter marrying a Moor. When the marriage was revealed, Brabantio accused Othello of using witchcraft to seduce his daughter. The assumption that a white woman could not genuinely love a black man was unexamined prejudice. The Duke sided with Othello, who was needed to fight the Turks in Cyprus, and Desdemona was allowed to accompany her husband. Iago had multiple reasons to hate Othello. He had expected to be promoted to lieutenant but was passed over for Cassio, a younger man with more education but less experience. He suspected, on no evidence, that Othello had slept with his wife. He despised Cassio as an unproven soldier. Most importantly, Iago seems to hate love itself. He cannot believe that Desdemona's affection is genuine, that Othello's nobility is real, that anything pure exists. He will prove everyone as corrupt as himself by making them corrupt. Iago's plan was subtle. He would convince Othello that Desdemona was committing adultery with Cassio. This required no outright lies, only implications, questions, performances of reluctance to speak. Iago was trusted precisely because he seemed honest and blunt. No one suspected the complexity of his plots. I am not what I am, the honest-seeming villain plots destruction in private. Iago's method was to plant ideas without stating them directly. He would mention Cassio and Desdemona together, then stop himself. I like not that. When Othello asked what he meant, Iago pretended reluctance to speak, which only made Othello more curious. He warned Othello against jealousy while simultaneously feeding it. He claimed to protect Desdemona's reputation while destroying it. The physical evidence was a handkerchief. Othello's first gift to Desdemona, embroidered with strawberries, precious beyond its material value. Iago had his wife Emilia, who was Desdemona's attendant, steal it, then planted it where Cassio would find it. When Cassio returned the handkerchief to Desdemona without knowing its significance, Iago ensured Othello saw him with it. A gift of love becomes evidence of betrayal, planted by the man Othello trusts most. Iago worked with the patience of a slow poison, composing small scenes that, taken separately, seemed harmless, an aside, an unwilling remark, and evoked memory. He curated moments so that Othello's imagination would supply the missing, catastrophic links. Othello's outsider status in Venetian society made him more likely to hear suspicion where others heard none. He had already internalized a fear that a woman like Desdemona might not remain faithful to a man like him. Othello's transformation was gradual and devastating to watch. He began as a confident commander who loved his wife completely. He ended as a man who could barely speak coherently, consumed by images of betrayal he could not escape. Farewell the tranquil mind, he said, farewell content. His identity as soldier and husband dissolved together. If his wife had betrayed him, everything he believed about himself was false. Desdemona had no idea what was happening. She continued to advocate for Cassio because Iago had persuaded her this would help her husband's reputation, not realizing that every word she spoke in Cassio's favor confirmed Othello's suspicions. She noticed her husband's strange behavior but could not guess its cause. He answered her questions with violence and accusations she did not understand. The murder. By the play's climax, Othello was convinced beyond any argument that Desdemona had betrayed him. He decided she must die, not in rage but in what he believed was justice. It is the cause, my soul," he said as he entered her bedroom. Yet I'll not shed her blood, nor scar that whiter skin of hers than snow. The murder was ritualistic, almost religious. He would smother her, preserving her beauty while ending her life. Put out the light, and then put out the light. Love becomes murder through manipulation. Desdemona woke to find her husband standing over her with murder in his eyes. She pleaded innocent, but he did not believe her. Why would he? He had seen the handkerchief with his own eyes. Every true statement she made sounded like a lie through the filter of his jealousy. When she asked for time to say one prayer, he refused even that mercy. He smothered her with a pillow, killing the only person who had ever loved him for himself rather than for his military value. Moments after her death, the truth began emerging. Emilia, Iago's wife, burst in and learned what had happened. She revealed that she had stolen the handkerchief on Iago's orders, that he had planned everything, that Desdemona was completely innocent. Iago tried to stop her testimony by killing her, but the damage was done. Letters found on dead conspirators confirmed everything. Othello stood facing the reality. He had murdered his innocent wife because he believed a man who had no motive but malice. Everything Iago had said was technically accurate but contextually false. Every conclusion Othello had drawn was wrong. His reputation, his love, his very identity, all destroyed by his willingness to believe the worst about someone who deserved the best. The revelation in the end. With the truth exposed, Othello had moments of tormented clarity. He was not a man deceived by a clever lie but a man who had chosen to believe lies because they matched his deepest insecurities. As an outsider in Venice, he had never entirely believed that a noblewoman like Desdemona could truly love him. Iago had exploited that insecurity until it consumed everything else. I kissed the air, I killed thee, no way but this, killing myself, to die upon a kiss. Iago, caught, refused to explain himself. Demand me nothing. What you know, you know. From this time forth I never will speak word. His silence was final cruelty. He would not give Othello even the satisfaction of understanding why. The motivation remained ambiguous. Was it jealousy over the promotion, suspicion about his wife, hatred of Othello's nobility, hatred of love itself? Perhaps Iago did not fully know himself. Othello asked to be remembered accurately, as someone who loved not wisely, but too well, who was not easily jealous, but being wrought, perplexed in the extreme. He did not excuse himself but tried to explain. He had been manipulated by a master manipulator, but he had still made the choice to kill. His final act was suicide, stabbing himself beside Desdemona's body. The play ends with Cassio governing Cyprus and Iago under arrest for torture and execution. The good characters survive but cannot undo what has happened. Desdemona lies dead, killed by the man who loved her. Othello lies dead, destroyed by trusting the wrong person with the wrong information. Venice's greatest general and his innocent wife, destroyed by jealousy and manipulation, Shakespeare's demonstration of how evil works in the real world. Final reflection. Othello's tragedy lies in how easily the destruction happened. Iago needed no supernatural powers, no army, no great resources, only knowledge of human psychology and the patience to apply it. He found Othello's weakness, his insecurity as an outsider, and pressed on it until it broke everything. We want to believe that we would not be fooled as Othello was, but the play shows how reasonable each step seemed at the time, how jealousy, once planted, creates the evidence it needs, how the most honest-seeming advisor can be the deadliest enemy. Desdemona died because she was innocent in a world where innocence could not protect itself. Othello died because he trusted the wrong person with the wrong information. Shakespeare left us wondering which of our trust is equally misplaced.